Today we have a very special guest. His name is Cade Barrett. He's from Fresno, California, and he's a real estate investor. So he actively buys deals or wholesales deals, and that's where the bulk of his income, or that's what he does. But he's been doing this for a while. He was starting when he was around 18, 19 years old. And I want to share his story, not necessarily just of real estate, but just how he got started as an entrepreneur in general. So Cade, before we get into the origin story, can you tell the people a little bit better about exactly what you do right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you mentioned, full-time real estate investor. I'm also a licensed real estate agent, although that probably accounts for really, truly, I was doing the numbers the other day, only about 5% of my income. I don't do too many real estate sales deals. And obviously what that means is helping other people buy or sell homes. The other 95% of, my income comes from being a full-time real estate investor. So full-time real estate professional, doing investment deals, helping people buy and sell, based out of Fresno, California. Do have a couple rental properties out of state, out in Indiana, but primary market, primary deal flow is in Central Valley over in Fresno.
Awesome. Awesome. So before you even got into that, into the
Yeah.
whole real estate investing, what was life like for you? I mean, you started pretty young, so what were you doing? And was this what you envisioned for a long time? Or
Not at all. So, obviously, really, a lot of high school students, and even after graduating high school, and you kind of, whether you go to college or don't go to college, once you kind of get to that age, you kind of do a lot of soul searching, right? Figuring out what the hell's going to be next, right? Especially after, if you are doing college, graduating and becoming an actual grown up now, right? So, elementary school, middle school, even early high school, for a long time, I wanted to be in like media, in some sort of like broadcasting or something like that. But then, kind of into high school, kind of lost interest, start college. And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea what I want to do. I'm going to pick my major to be business just because I know it's general enough. It sounds like I like business, so I'm just going to pick business and start doing school. So, after graduating high school, obviously started college at Fresno State University over in Fresno. That's where you and I actually met.
Yep.
Was over at Fresno State. And then it was a couple years into, it was probably my second year in college, that I really started to kind of be like, I'm year two. I don't really have very much time left. It may seem like a lot, another 2 years before graduating, but it was, really what's going to be next, because I got to figure out something. And that's really where kind of the shift into, making a potential jump into the entrepreneurial space and specifically talking about real estate, into the real estate space. So
Gotcha. So when you were going to college for business, was the idea that you would work some type of industry, like a finance industry, and like do a finance job, or like were you already thinking I want my own business early on?
No, dude. So like those first 2 years, I was a declared business major, but it was really just going through the motions, dude. I mean, as most, early year college students will know, dude, you're going through it. You're taking all the BS classes. You're kind of going through the motions, school wise, because you're not really doing or taking, any of those next level classes yet. So, that was going by, and literally zero clue what I wanted to do with business, in business, even what option, because I know, for school, you could pick an option to emphasize in. And so really zero clue. But the minute that light switch started to, I like to use, like the analogy of like a dimmer switch. And I steal that from one of my old mentors, still a current mentor, actually, Jason Pritchard, kind of this dimmer switch, right? And I pick up this real estate book. And the whole reason I even picked up and bought that real estate book, I was following a guy on social media, and I don't know how I came to follow him. I think I just kind of came across his page, had a crap ton of followers, a bunch of nice cars, Bugattis and all this. And it said commercial real estate in his bio. And I said, okay, I'm going to follow this guy, see what's up. And then he comes out with a book. So then I buy the book and I start reading the book, and I'm like, okay, all this real estate jazz sounds, maybe like it's something that I actually could be interested in. And so, I read that book, and that's when the gears start to change, right? Or start to shift, right? Those gears start turning in my head. And, one thing after another, I kind of fall into a kind of an assistant, a grunt work job in real estate, in a real estate office. And, the rest is history. Since then, I kind of fell into that real estate assistant job, and one thing after another. And here I am full time, more than a few years later, still hustling and trying to get things going. So
Yeah, no, I love that. You're crushing it from a young age, man. And I think that one thing you mentioned that a lot of people try to skip over is you mentioned that you started in a grunt work job.
Oh, yeah.
For the real estate. I'm sure you're making cold calls on cold calls and like the hard stuff that no one wants to do.
that nobody wants to do.
Yeah, and so you started there, but you did that because you saw the path. And you,
Oh,
you
100%.
a lot of people think that if they want a certain thing in life as entrepreneurs or business people, you just go straight to the top. It's like you probably often have to go and do all the little annoying things first and figure out how to get there. And
Oh, 100%.
just the baby steps. So, I mean, in terms of your journey, because
Yeah.
you started out not really wanting even
No.
to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And that's funny that I didn't even know that about you, because that was kind of my journey as well. I had plans to become like a financial advisor, a wealth management person, a finance guy, because I liked it. And then I started to learn the finance industry, and I was like, this seems kind of like it sucks.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I should try to do something else. And I kind of felt that epiphany in college like you. So in terms of the things that have helped you now through
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, are there things that, first of all, because a lot of this podcast is kind of diving deep into your origin and like who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Are there things that you got from your family? I don't know if anyone's entrepreneurs, or like instilled beliefs from your parents that you think have really helped you or served you well in your journey?
And the funny thing is, yeah, I mean, you hit on family and friends, and the answer is no, right?
Ah.
And a lot of, a lot of early stage entrepreneurs, or my mind always goes to early stage real estate investors, because
Yeah.
that's a lot of the people, that we talk to and deal with is, you see this ultra successful real estate investor, ultra successful entrepreneur, and they think a certain way, they do things a certain way, and you're like, dude, how you must have always thought this way or always done this, that, and the other. But no, dude, I mean, growing up, even at high school and college, both my parents are educators in the college education system. So no crazy entrepreneurial beliefs, actions, really kind of the complete opposite. And I say that in a way where, just kind of a comfort lifestyle, right? And that's what a lot of basically all the other stuff outside of entrepreneurship is kind of really, right? Just kind of that comfort, no really thinking in that entrepreneurial zone, right? So the big thing, I attest to those gears starting to shift and really starting to, have that dimmer switch, right? It wasn't like a light switch where, I just automatically, boom, thought like this ultra high performing entrepreneur, made all this money, I'm doing all this, that, and the other. No, dude, it was like a dimmer switch, right? It didn't happen overnight, and it took time to train myself to think a certain way, to train myself to do things a certain way, right? In an entrepreneurial sense. And the biggest thing I can attest to that, and the biggest thing that I would tell people if they are kind of struggling, either early on or even, if you have been doing things a while but aren't, thinking things in a successful way, is finding a coach or finding a mentor. Number one thing. Somebody out there has already done or is doing what you want to be doing at an ultra high successful level. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Right. Find that person, see what value you can provide to that person, and get a coach or get a mentor.
Right. No, I like that. And I think there's a huge importance to it's not even just the mentor, but it's being around the right people. Because when I ask 100%. You the question of, were there friends, family who've instilled or helped you grow your entrepreneurship or your journey? You're like, no. And it's true. Because
it's completely true.
I think everyone out there is trying to get advice from the wrong people. And there was something that I did when I was starting out. You remember when I started out actually as investing. I bought the first house. I was still like a senior in college. And I bought it. And before I even bought that, I went to friends and family for advice. then they haven't done this. They haven't invested in real estate. They haven't done this. But I would still ask them because I thought that's what you did. You ask people that care about you, like, hey, do you think this is a good idea? And most of it was pushback. Most of it was like, no, like it's very scary, like it's very risky. I'd advise you, like, be careful. And they only said that because they cared. So I get it.
Of course, yeah.
But if they haven't stepped where you want to step, how can they possibly give you the correct advice? And it wasn't until I reached out to friends and their parents. I was like, hey, like, do you have any friends or mom, dad, anyone in real estate and doing investing? They're like, oh yeah, talk to my dad. Or it wasn't until I talked to their dads and their moms when they were all so encouraging. They're like, no, like, do it. Like, you're doing everything right. You're learning. Like, you just have to, like, make your offers. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, like, I trust you because you've done it. And too many people try to take advice from the wrong people. So I think it's
100%
fascinating that you said that in the first place.
dude. And that's the biggest thing too. And another analogy is like, if you want to become an ultra high performing athlete, right? You're not going to go get training. You're not going to go and get advice from a teacher or a plumber or a mechanic, or even if we're talking like that, if you want to become a mechanic or own your own car shop or do something like that, you're not going to go and ask a dentist how to go and start it or be a mechanic and own a car shop or anything like that, right? You've got to go to the people who are already doing what you want to be doing. I mean, it's the biggest key, I think, right? That goes hand in hand with finding a coach and mentor. It's that person's got to be somebody who's doing what you want to be doing, but also the important part, at a successful or very high level. Because you can also go to the people who are doing what you want to be doing who aren't really doing what you want to be doing, right? Because they're either not disciplined, not motivated, not successful, right? If you're wanting to become a successful entrepreneur or a successful real estate investor, go and surround yourself with the successful real estate investors, right?
100%. And another thing to attest to your environment is there's that famous quote out there, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
What I think a lot of people don't realize is they don't have to be two-way in-person relationships. They could be at the very beginning influencers you follow or people to actually influence your actions. Like you might follow, if we're on the topic of real estate investing, you might follow an influencer in real estate investing who's teaching everything. And there's one thing he or she says that you're like, oh, I could do this right now. And that if you take the action, they become part of your circle. They become a part of your 5.
Yeah.
And eventually, hopefully, it's ideal to have the two-way relationships with your mentor, the person you want to be surrounded by. But at first, like, because this is what happened to me. This was my experiences when I was starting out. My 5, at first, just my normal friends, family, whoever it was. And then my 5 changed and it became, I listened to a lot of Brandon Turner, his podcast.
The content you absorb, 100%.
I was just absorbing everything. And I was like, I started to think like them because I was surrounded by them, even though they don't know me. At the time, they didn't know me in person. But yeah, that was the start. Is like, that's how you can surround yourself with other people. It doesn't have to be two-way relationships. Could be online. It could be people you're influenced by. So
yeah,
I love that part of your story, man. So when you started the whole real estate investing journey, you said you found the mentor right away, or was it something where you did a little bit on your own and then you found the mentor? Like, how did you even find that guy?
So I kind of stumbled into, like I said, that grunt work, that assistant position. And what came with that was I was an assistant on a real estate team, right? And real estate teams, sales teams usually have team leaders, right? So with that, position I kind of fell into, the mentors were there, right? Kind of de facto because they were the team leaders. I was the assistant for the team. I was able to get mentorship that way. So the mentors kind of fell in and I kind of, it came with the position, right? So, which was really, really cool, right? Being able to have team leaders who are not only, really successful real estate agents, but also who are doing real estate investing at a high level and being able to absorb all that information. And, of course, in the meantime, doing all the BS assistant work, right? Because you've got to start, like you were saying, dude, you've got to start at the bottom doing things, that nobody wants to be doing. You're scanning. You're filing.
Yeah. I've done so many scans.
It's unbelievable grunt work, what seems like BS work, but everybody, time and time again, no matter what entrepreneurial space you're in, even if it's not entrepreneurial, to reach that point of success, you've got to pay your dues. Everybody pays their dues by doing the grunt work, doing the work that has to be done to get to that point you want to get at. Everybody's got to do the grunt work.
Right.
So, and some people can't put up with that. Some people can't, accept that. Like, you've got to start with the basics. You've got to start with that baseline knowledge in order to get to the next step, get to that next point. So, kind of fell in with those two mentors who are still, really two close mentors of mine, which is really, really awesome. But all of that, and really even how I kind of fell into that real estate position, all of that can be traced back to one thing, which was networking, right? That was the whole reason. And it's surrounding yourself with the right people, right? So if you're in a similar space, if you're wanting to be, a really great marketer, or you want to be a really great real estate investor, right? Even if you don't have a coach or mentor at the moment, go and network with people on social media, network with people in your market at local meetups. Go and blow up people's phones by networking and seeing what value you can provide, and network with the people who are doing what you want to be doing.
Right. So let's break that down, actually. So what was the first point of contact between, like, I know people are listening right now, and they might not be in real estate. A lot of them are not, but they'll be trying to find a mentor in what they're trying to do. So what exactly was the step that happened in your life that was like, maybe you reached out to a specific family member or person where you made that connect? Like, how would someone start out and try to find a mentor, or at least tell how you found it? Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So rewinding a little bit, I was in college and I was working a part-time on-campus job, kind of like in the IT department, 15, 20 hours a week, just kind of part-time doing my thing, trying to make some money while in college. And through that, I got an opportunity I got invited to go speak on behalf of our department, because our department on campus was, doing some innovative things like handing out iPads to students and just, all that stuff. And so I got invited to go and speak at a Fresno State donor event on behalf of our department, right? Who is, handing out iPads to college students to use in their classes, for free at no cost. So I said, I'll go and give this spiel, 2-minute spiel at this donor event, and I'll do my thing and whatever. So I show up to the donor event. I give my speech. All of these, what I would assume, pretty wealthy people in Fresno, donors to the university. Right. It's like surrounded by all these older people. I'm a 18, 19-year-old kid, just kind of waddling around like a headless chicken, not really knowing what to do. And this lady comes up to me after my speech and she goes, "Hey," and as a side note, and I don't mean to make anybody uncomfortable either, but I'm really big in my faith too, and I think that really played a big part in this, and I'll get to why. Is this lady comes up to me and she goes, "Hi, my name is blah blah blah. That was a really great speech. My husband and I, we were about to leave, and I told him, no, I really have to go up to that kid. I don't know why, but I have to go up to that kid." And, I'm sitting there listening, thinking, okay, yeah, is this lady crazy? What is she thinking? And she goes, "No, like I had to come up and talk to you. So, just tell me about you. Like, what do you do? And what are you interested in? What are you interested in doing after college?" And up until that point, I hadn't told anybody, family, friends, nobody, that I was like actually considering real estate. But for whatever reason, before my head could catch up to my mouth, I blurt out, I'm like, "Well, I think I'm kind of interested in real estate." Wow. And she goes, "No way. My son is a team leader over at this local office, and they're actually looking to hire an assistant. I would love to share his contact info with you, share his card, and give him a call. Make sure to give him a call." And I go, "Okay, yeah, blah, 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 blah." And one thing after another, I give the number a call, and I fall into that assistant position. And it's kind of crazy because I look back on that and think, what are all the things that put me in that position, right? And a lot of people, like you said, might be sitting here going, I can't find a coach, I can't find a mentor. You know, I would ask, what are you doing to put yourself in the right environment? What are you saying to people? What are you telling to people, right? If you're wanting to get into real estate or wanting to become an entrepreneur, verbalize that to people, right? Like I said, that was, my head couldn't catch it to my mouth, and I kind of blurted it out, real estate. And look at that, dude. I mean, a lot of it I think can just be traced back to, who are you surrounding yourself with? Where are you networking? What are you telling people you want to be doing? I think if you absolutely implement all of those things, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? And I think that's also a big struggle too, because people may have been doing that for a little bit and being frustrated that they aren't finding anybody or aren't finding any success. But it's that dimmer switch, right? Success or finding a mentor, finding a coach, making that mindset shift doesn't all happen overnight. You've got to put in the work, right? And as long as you're doing all of those right things, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Right. So there's three things I really want to unpack there. As far as the people who are wanting to get a mentor, what are the things that you did? So I want to unpack the things that you might have realized, but maybe it wasn't touched on exactly. So one is, you mentioned this very briefly, but it was the verbalizing what you want. And so you ask and you shall receive. So if you want a certain thing out of life, one, the first step is understanding what you want, because a lot of people don't. So you have to find what you even want to do. But once you do, you tell everyone.
Yeah.
You tell everyone you possibly know, because even if your friends, your close friends, your family aren't those people, they might know someone who is.
100%.
And it's just getting around those types of people. So that's number one, is verbalize what you even want, which you touched on. The second thing is to even get into that position of some type of authority where you're speaking on stage. I'm assuming that, you had to have worked really hard or put yourself out there in some aspect to get to that position. So a lot of people who are like, I can't get around these right people, the right types of people. Well, what kind of person are you, and why would they be around you? So you have to build a reputation of yourself up to be that kind of person where you can deliver authority on some level. Okay? Everyone has some type of authority, whether you might be a gamer, you might be great at game. You have authority over that game. If you were to make content about that, like, you have an authority. So it's being the kind of person who works hard and says what they say they're going to, or does what they say they're going to do, and doing that. So it's being that kind of person. And the other one, again, this isn't about religion or anything, but you said you're very strong with your faith and belief in how you think. I think another part of that is it's luck / the faith. So whatever we think about, whatever we're wanting, if it's really truly top of our mind and we're doing the right action steps to get where we're trying to go, you're going to find it some way or another. As long as you have an idea of where you're going, and I think if you're good to people, and really if you just work really hard, the luckier that you will get, because there's an aspect of succeeding in business that a lot of people don't talk about, and it's luck.
Oh, 100%.
Luck is very real, because I would be dumb to say that I've worked for absolutely every single good thing that's come in my life. Yes, I've worked very hard, but some things there's just the right time, the right place, for some whatever reason. I was like, wow, I made the move to Vegas. I made some great connections, and good things have happened. But part of that was luck too.
And it's interesting. Luck's a funny word, and it's a funny concept. And I agree with you too. And I also like to trace it back to, though, call it luck, but what did you do to put yourself in that position for that opportunity or for that deal or for that, right? A lot of times, we may equate the whole thing to luck, and it's like, let's trace that back. What have you been doing? What people have you been talking to? What have you been training your mind or training your skills on that put you in that position in the first place, right? Because it's all of that stuff you're doing that put you in that position for, that stroke of luck, or for that deal, or for, whatever it is to fall into your lap, right? And I think that often goes unnoticed too. But it's like all the things you did put yourself for, kind of that scope of opportunity to happen, right? Which I think is really big.
Yeah, because as you were explaining that, that's exactly what I was thinking. It was like, I was very lucky with a lot of things that have happened to me moving to Vegas, but then I was like, why did I move to Vegas? So I've instilled values of being a family man to move because of my niece.
Yeah.
Before that, I was reading tons of books of self-help and trying to improve myself. I was already doing house flips and working towards that. I was making content already, trying to be around the right people. I thought Vegas could also be a good fit where I can be around good, high-level people. And for some reason, it was right. And like, I made the move without a solid income.
Yeah.
Made the move, and I was like, not a lot of people do that. Like, why would you move
Dude,
somewhere?
it's scary.
Yeah.
Dude, and I think there's something huge to be said about that, dude. And it's, you know, not getting stuck in the analysis paralysis or getting stuck in the fear. I think, you know, it's so cliche, but getting out of your comfort zone and making that jump, exactly like you said, who would have made a move to another state with almost no money, almost being broke, right? With no clue what they were going to do after they got there.
I moved and I started applying to jobs. I was like, what do I do now?
Exactly. Yeah. But the thing is, like, you were one of the few who had the confidence to make the jump, right? And I think there's something to be said about that, where people, you can't get stuck in the fear zone. You can't get stuck in the comfort zone. You've got to make the leap. You've got to start taking action. You've got to do that thing that puts you in the right environment or the right space to start working towards that stuff.
100%. It's having a crazy amount of faith or confidence in yourself.
Of course.
When not a lot of other people will.
Yeah.
Now, it would be unwise of us to talk about that and the confidence in ourselves and being everything all good and great. But I also want to talk about the real side of entrepreneurship, the downside where it's tough. And like, honestly, one of the biggest problems in entrepreneurship is income. You know, you're working so hard for this one venture, a business of your own, or something that you're working on that's not yet generating income.
Yeah.
Now, I know that's happened to me plenty of times where I'm like, man, how is this going to work out? Has anything happened in your life where you're like, you know, I had to take a step back, I have to adjust for this, and I have to be realistic for a short period of time to make it through this hard time? And what can the people listening take away from that? Because I want to be real with people. I want to be real.
Oh, dude.
Entrepreneurship's not all good.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I just did a podcast on this a couple weeks ago talking about this. And I think it because it's such an important topic. And I'll use two examples, and I'll be quick too, not to drag them out too long. But May 2021, I graduate from college. You know, I'd been doing real estate part-time, right? Because I said I had kind of stumbled into it partway through college. I graduate May of 2021, and now it's like, dude, awesome. Now I get to hit this thing full-time. I've had school taking up a lot of my time. Now I get to put all time, effort, and focus into this, and I'm going to make a shitload of money. And I graduate May. You know, June goes by. July goes by, and August goes by, and I don't make a single dollar. And I'm sitting there, you know, my pride kind of defeated. I'm like, and that was moment number one. First off, being like, am I even good enough to be doing this? I just went 3 months. I'm a college graduate, dude. I mean, that doesn't really mean much these days now, but I'm like, dude, I've got a degree. I can, like, what am I doing? I graduated. When people come up and family and friends and ask me how I'm doing, what are you up to? Oh, I've made $0 the past 3 months since graduating. No, dude, it doesn't feel good. It feels shitty. And so I'm like, okay, you know, I need to, I've got bills to pay, so I need to go out and find something. So I go and I pick up a part-time restaurant job all evenings. And the reason I did that was because I still had all day, 5, 6, 7 days a week to go out and still double down and put all of my time, energy, and focus into real estate, right? So I pick up that restaurant job. I think it ended up being early October. Not 1 month later do I put into contract my biggest deal to date that I've done still, right? And I think there's something to be said about that. One, kind of breaking down that stigma, especially for people who, you know, have gone through that period of no income or gone through the period of self-doubt and, you know, feeling shitty, right? Number one, breaking down the stigma. You do what you got to do. If you need to go out and pay the bills, go get a night restaurant job. That doesn't take away from you continuing to build your real estate business or your entrepreneurial business or whatever you're focusing on. Go and get something part-time that can cover your expenses, cover your bills, right? It's not going to be fun. It's going to be shitty. I know because I've been there and done that, right? but it's going to allow you to relieve that financial stress, even if you're not worried about the money. I think it's a subconscious thing too. And it's funny how it all works out. Cause like I said, not 1 month later, do I put into my biggest deal that I've ever done into contract, and I close that deal to close out 2021. Right. And so I think being able to, kind of put your pride aside, when you are in those moments of feeling really crappy or really shitty, and you do have financial obligations to take care of, but you also want to continue building this business, right? Not being ashamed, to go out and pick up something or do something that allows your baseline necessities to be taken care of. And then still being able to double down, and number one thing, being consistent and doing the right things. And that's where, again, it can come down to, who are you networking with? The people who are ultra successful will tell you what you need to do. So if you're consistent and continue to do all of the right things, the success and the deal flow, the money is inevitable, right? So, for the people who are out there who, maybe going through a period like that, or a lot of self-doubt, or, not feeling confident in themselves, I think it's a big thing, and you're not alone, right? A lot of people think they're kind of alone, and everybody who's successful, even if they're not ultra successful, but maybe just 1 or 2 steps ahead of them, are in so much of a better spot and never felt like that. But completely not true. I think that's where it comes down to surrounding yourself with the right people, right? Because if I would have gone to, like you said, hey, whether it's family, friends, or somebody, and it's like, yeah, graduated college, I've been in real estate full time, haven't made a single dollar in 3 months. Mm-hmm. And somebody might, the wrong person might say, oh, well, maybe you need to, maybe you have a degree. Why don't you go and pick up your 9 to 5? Why don't you go and do that? But then you go and you talk to the person who's doing what you want to be doing, and they have the advice, and they tell you, dude, what have you been doing the past 3 months? Okay, you've been doing X, Y, and Z. That's perfect. You've got to keep grinding. Right. You've got to be consistent with that. Keep it up. You're almost there. Right. So I think that's really one of the biggest things.
100%, man. Thank you for sharing that, because that's a big purpose of this podcast, is to really peel back the onion and make people realize that it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No,
not at all. So a couple things that are interesting. One is you had to drop the ego, first of all, because a lot of people who are trying to do something full-time business and they're not succeeding, they're like, they often will not drop the ego and do something that makes sense for them or their family. When in reality, you have to really think about yourself and your situation. Like, do you really want to go bankrupt over this?
Exactly. Over my pride. Exactly.
Yeah, over pride. And sometimes it's not worth it. And because I remember that kind of feeling it was really when I graduated and I started doing the investing full time, even realtor work, but investing really. And I would see all my friends graduate too, and they get these nice little jobs, money every month. And I was like, I mean, nothing. It's hard. And sometimes you have to hear the right advice, like you said. It's just like, no, just keep pushing, stay consistent. And really, if you just do not quit, you can't fail. You can't fail if you do not quit, and you find a way to never quit. Mm-hmm. So that was a big thing that I think are important moments in that story. So I appreciate you for sharing that.
Of course, man. Yeah.
Even in the first place. Now, you've seen a lot of good improvements, a lot of success in the real estate investing. What's the next step for you this upcoming year? Like, is it plan to just double down and push harder on what's working with the real estate? Are you trying to shift different with, I don't know, content or something else? Like, what's the game plan?
Yeah. So, really, my biggest goal this year is to double down, exactly like you said, and I'm going to steal it. Double down on all the things that worked last year, and continue to shift, not only in my business, but shift to the things that are working. Streamline expenses, double down on the things that are producing, both within my team, whether it's marketing streams, all this stuff, right? Because I have a goal this year to double my revenue from last year, right? And the only way that's going to happen is if I double down on all the right activities, on the right things. And so that's goal number 1. Goal number 2 is, kind of falling into the content space. Obviously, having, a podcast of my own that I co-host is continuing to double down in our content there, because, that's the whole reason. I know that a big vision and driving force behind your podcast, right, is sharing information to people that's going to be helpful, right? Because we've been in these spots, and we're not some ultra wealthy millionaires
Right.
who are kicking it and flying private jets, right? But there
Not
is
yet.
not yet, but there is something to be said that we do have stuff to share. People are out there who have gone through some of the struggles that we've gone through, and I think doubling down, another goal is to just double down on my podcast content and continue to get that out, and just continue to help more people, because that's a great feeling. So
One thing I want to bring up that
Yeah.
you mentioned, you said you wanted to double down on the things that works, but you mentioned it in a different way, that because when people hear double down on what works, it doesn't mean just double all your activities. You were saying to double down on all the specific things that are actually generating business or positive benefits for yourself, which means there's this principle out there. I think it's called Pareto's principle, but it essentially states that 20% of your activities or your inputs creates 80% of the results. So it would be unwise for you to double down on every single activity in your business. Of
course.
You're saying to find the 20% that's working
Yep.
and generating, and double or triple that stuff.
yeah.
Because that's what a lot of people fail to realize. It's like, no, like if I want double the results, maybe I should just double everything. It's not everything.
Well, and you know what a lot of people also mix up is that doubling down on those things, that thing or one of those things, one of that 20%, doesn't necessarily have to be, something in your business, right? It could be, hey, last year I found myself really working out more. I was really consistent. I felt a lot better with myself, and my days went a lot better, right? That's not something that's directly business related. But that's definitely one of the things in the 20% that push the needle, right? Because when you are feeling better, feeling healthier, your mind's in a better spot, all of that carries over into everything you're already doing in your
Yes.
business, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be business related. A lot of the things will be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be something specific to your business. It could be like the example that I shared, something like that. But yeah, finding that 20% that's going to move the needle and, push to, those 80% results and skyrocket them. That's the biggest key.
100%. So, man, as we wrap up this episode, this is a great episode so far. What can people bring to you? Like, what are you looking for that the audience listening right now can help you? Like, do you need deals? Are you looking for people? Like, this is your chance to plug anything you want.
Dude. Yeah. So I'm looking for helping the vision behind, my podcast and, a lot of the things I do. I love helping people find their first deal. I love helping, young entrepreneurs, young adults who are looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, right? So I'm always looking for deals. I, have had people reach out through the podcast where, they're newer real estate investors and they say, hey, I've got this deal. Can you just kind of help me and coach me through? And 100% absolutely. I love being able to do that in JV on deals and kind of coach people from start to finish on what you do in a real estate deal. So absolutely, you can find, me personally on Instagram at Cade Barrett, CadeBerrett. You can also find my podcast that I co-host. It's called The Pursuit of Property podcast. You can find that on all podcasting platforms. Those are the easiest ways to find me, reach me, find the content that I'm putting out. And so would love to help anybody who has any questions or, may have found, something to relate to in this podcast that, I may be able to help with. So please reach out. That's the best way to find me.
Awesome, man. Well, you heard him here. And all of Cade's links, the social media links, will all be in the description of the episode below. But before we end this,
Yeah.
Cato, I wanted to ask you, what's one message that you really want to share with the world? It could be business, entrepreneurship, real estate. What's one message that you are passionate about sharing, and what can you give to the audience? Like, what do you want them to know?
Yeah, the biggest thing is whatever it is that you're doing, right? You may be a teacher, you may be an entrepreneur, you may be a server in a restaurant, right? Whatever it is you are doing, do that to the very best of your ability, right? And the example I use, and it's because I went out and have been in the restaurant space, and when I was in those times of struggle, went out and picked this up, is every single day or every single night or afternoon in my case, I went in with the mindset that I'm going to be the best fucking server in this restaurant my entire shift. And I'm going to come back in tomorrow and I'm going to do it again. Mm-hmm. Even though I may not love it, even though I may not like it, even though I don't want to be here, I'm going to come in and day out and be the best fucking server this restaurant has ever seen and will ever see. Mm-hmm. Right? So whatever field that is for you, whatever it is that you are doing, do it to the very best of your ability with the best attitude that you can. And that's going to translate and turn into a lot of other positive things all across your life, right? And I equate that, that mindset as a big, kind of indirect result of going in and seeing why my business, popped off like mm-hmm. that and started to see growth was because I had that attitude, I had that mindset, and that translated into other aspects of my life with my relationships, being the best boyfriend that I could be, being the best son that I could be, being the best brother that I can be day in and day out, right? So finding that, whatever it is you're doing and doing it to the very best of your ability, that's the biggest thing that I'd like to share.
That's actually one of my favorite takeaways or messages, and it's so true, man, because what you're trying to say is the little things matter. And they matter everywhere, whether it's showing up on time or doing the smallest things for people or for yourself, they all matter. So that's one of my favorite messages on this podcast so far. So, Cade, man, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it a ton. And hope you guys enjoyed listening. Otherwise, peace.